Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. Have a fair bit to cover in this video today. I'm going to be reviewing the United versus Aston Villa game over the weekend. I'm going to talk about the attacker situation, talk about Sesko, this name that has come up a few times now, and what's happening with Antony, and if there are any other targets. I want to talk about the Frenkie de Jong situation, do have some information there, some things that have been confirmed, some things that have come out, and playing center back, the wage cuts, all of that. And I want to discuss it and where the timeline goes from here. I'm going to talk about Eriksen and Martinez and when they will hopefully be official. I have some information that they have been around at United, so it should be at any moment. And I want to talk about the Ronaldo situation. But before we get into that, I want to tell you that this video today is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is once again sponsoring the Muppetiers, and they've sent me this great package here with all sorts of things included that I think are going to be very useful for you in all of your male grooming needs. One is, this is an interesting thing, the Weed Whacker. This is a electronic nose and ear hair trimmer, which you may not have now depending on how old you are, but someday you will, and trust me, it is useful. They have the shears, which is useful for all sorts of grooming things here. 4-piece essential grooming. It's got a nail file, tweezers, grooming scissors, nail clippers, and a nice carrying case that is easy for you to transport. The package obviously comes with a lot of very interesting things here. Some things you may not have heard or may not think you need, like, for example, the crop preserver. This is deodorant, but for your balls. So if you want to smell better than ever down there, the crop preserver can do that. And you have the Crop Reviver, which is a refreshing ball toner spray, and it has a nice little tingle as well, I must say. Obviously, the main draw of the whole package, and one of my favorite things for Manscaped that I do use every single day, is the lawnmower. The newest one is the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got a nice light on there, vibrates, it has no-nick technology, wireless charging. You just plop it in a port and it charges right up. It's waterproof, works really well. I have 2 of these because while it's very good for shaving your balls and keeping everything groomed down there, I also like to use it to shave my face. If you don't like to use a razor and have a baby face where it's just completely smooth but leave a little bit of stubble that can grow out from time to time, this works great. Takes about 2 minutes to do so, and can take care of the toughest jobs on facial hair and on your down there hair. So the Lawnmower 4.0 is a great addition, and it gets better every single time. I have been using these for years now as pretty much the only thing I do for shaving. And lastly, the package comes with, but I do recommend you get these anyway, whether or not you get a whole package of things, is the boxer briefs, which are extremely comfortable and easily my favorite pair of things. And you also get a nice shirt if you buy the whole package as well from Manscaped. So great package, great to use, and you can get 20% off and free shipping with code Muppetiers at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use our code Muppetiers. It's time you level up from the Amazon to the Amadong with the ultimate bushwhacking tools from Manscaped. Alright, so let's talk about Aston Villa. In the end, it was a 2-2 draw, but I was actually very, very happy with this game. Aston Villa was a tough side for us last year. They have a very nice team. They set up differently to what we've focused on or played against mostly in preseason so far. With a 4-man midfield, really overloaded the center of the park, where obviously we seem to have maybe the greatest weakness or lack of strength with not having Frenkie de Jong, and obviously an area everybody knows we want to acquire players in. We obviously don't have Eriksen ready yet or anything like that either. So it took a little bit to break through. They pressed well, but I think the structure that United played out the back with and composure and all of that was excellent. I think that once again United looked in control in the first half. They playing well in build-up, moving the ball smartly around. Maguire nearly scored off a corner very early on. I was pretty happy with it. I felt it was a fairly normal or correct reflection of how we'd expect to see United play once again. And considering with preseason, I think we just have the Atletico game that will be a full strength kind of preseason test left. I think we've really seen how United are set up to play. It was building up again in that 2-3-5 with Fred anchoring the midfield, who did a great job once again. I think the overall lineup, Eriksen in for Van de Beek, Martinez in for Lindelof, is how United will set up against Brighton and how they will start the season. The first goal was and remains one of my favorite moves in football due to its simplicity, and one that we should see a lot more from United under Ten Hag. It's all about that combination of Shaw and Rashford on the left, the ball coming from the right from Dalot through Martial, who dropped deep to build up to move it on to Bruno, to Rashford, the overlap from Shaw, and then Sancho cutting in at the back to kind of smack in essentially what is close enough to a tap-in at that point in time. Great goals. Easy goals in that you finish them. They're great chances you create. The other goal, you find Fred getting Sancho with a beauty over the top as Villa come up too far forward, hits it across to Rashford, who mishit it a little bit, but off a Villa defender and in. And by that time, the pitch conditions were so bad, it's really hard to judge the play. The pitch itself was pretty awful all along, and that's why I was very happy with the controlled performance. I think Rashford had an excellent game. There were 3 or 4 times he likely would have been in on net or creating another chance. But the ball just simply could not roll. And it was slowing him down, giving the defense time to get some shape. And, the second half was obviously different. The intensity dropped off, and I know Ten Hag wasn't happy with that. But to me, it seemed that the players were protecting against injury regardless. It's nice to have a manager who has higher standards than I do. As a fan, I think that's good. That's a relief. I don't want him to have high standards. I want him to have brutal standards. I mean, it would be nice as a fan to say, okay, my standards for how the team and my thoughts are lower than that of the manager, not higher than that of the manager, which I felt it has been for some time now, personally. And I'm not talking about standards FC, I just mean in these specific circumstances. What's considered a good game, what's considered bad, and all of that. Once the subs came on, to me, it's nothing. There was really nothing in the game after that. I don't really care about the end goal either. Whoever's fault it was on the corner definitely could be De Gea, and is something we've talked about, and obviously everybody's thinking with, does De Gea fit this? Do we need him to claim more crosses? At the end of the day, that goal still really comes down to the overall organization as well, and with a whole new 11 there, it's little that you can judge. So again, with my optimism, people are quick to say that third place finish, the second place, and undefeated away all year, not an easy feat. We're outliers or lucky, but seem to be basing all their feelings about where the team is at now off of last year, which is, to me, even more of an outlier in most regards, if not entirely. Ralph Rangnick coming in was literally like, you're at work and they sack this, and you lose this manager, this boss over your whole area, who's really nice. People like him, even if he's a little bit befuddled and not quite with the modern times and not quite driving things forward, and replacing him with some guy who sleeps in his office all day, wakes up just to call everyone an idiot and collect his paycheck, and then sell stories to the media about how smart he is, how he's going to turn this company around, and how everybody was mismanaged in the past, while he's sitting there sleeping in his office and just calling everyone an idiot. These are still people. These players are still people, and if you had this scenario in your workplace, you'd be looking for another job and completely unmotivated to work, and I think that's a big factor. So again, if you're going to call the third and second place an outlier, I don't see how you can call this an outlier. And the third place, remember, was a crazy year, and the first half was horrible before Bruno Fernandes came in. Horrible. So I think this team is very good. I think adding Eriksen and Martinez is a big factor, though. It's going to push Scott, Van de Beek, Lindelof to depth, and that's where I know people are most worried about is depth. I am too. I know we need depth in attack. Obviously, De Jong going to the midfield, to me, means we have more than enough depth in the midfield. I think right now it's not terrible. But I also think there's going to be opportunities in January, and it's a shorter run than usual before that window due to the Winter World Cup. Regarding attackers, let's talk about Sesko. It was a name given to me. I sent some questions out about it. Obviously, news started coming out over the weekend. From what I can see, this is what I understand the situation to be. His agent contacted United, among other teams, let him know about availability, let him know about interest in a move. There's claims of different prices, but as far as I can find out, the talk from the other side is offering somewhere around a 30 million euros price if it includes a loan back for a year. United's stance is interest in the player, but no real talks. They're aware of everything. They've had contact with his agent, but that's the reality of it. It's an intriguing one. I'd keep an eye on it. Even a buy and loan back to prevent paying. If he has a great season, he's a good prospect. If he has a great season, look at the striker prices: 60, 70, 80 million. Buying and loaning back to save the money for a year is not a bad idea because we have to get a striker. It's a challenge, though, because we need reinforcements now, but it does not look like we can get a top striker this summer. So why not get something lined up for next summer? Not a bad idea. At the same time, again, it could save a lot for next summer, but we do need reinforcements now, and that is obviously the rub on the whole thing. Personally, I don't know a ton about him. I like the idea, and that's the type of deal I would be thinking with. Get that lined up for next summer so you know it's resolved. And then you could get a stopgap, and you don't have to worry about, okay, another year without a resolution next summer. And this all, of course, though, ties into the Ronaldo situation, which is he's been asked to return to training. They expect him to return to training on Tuesday. Well, expect in terms of that's what is supposed to happen. Do they expect him? No. I don't think they do. At this point, I don't think they expect him to play for them again. But he's supposed to return on Tuesday. That's when it's supposed to go. It's supposed to come back. If he does, it obviously helps the depth a lot because then you have 4 good attackers. You have Alenga and you have some of the youth. You still need a signing up front. If he goes, it's dreadful, that forward position, but you got a lot of money available and you like to see something come in. And that's what complicates the Sesko thing. If Ronaldo is going to stay for a year, sign and loan back for Sesko makes a lot of sense. And getting another winger or something this year. If Ronaldo's gone, it doesn't really make as much sense. Do you want to get him then now? Get another attacker? What do you want to do? And the issue with Antony continues to be and remains, he's just too expensive. 80 million, Ajax don't want to negotiate. They don't want to do anything. So at the moment, it's looking very, very unlikely because they're not going to pay that. It'd be the most expensive signing in history from the Eredivisie. So I just don't see how that happens for Antony. It doesn't make sense to me. But we'll see. I've said that before with Martinez that I wouldn't know if they would go up to that 55 million, and they did. So maybe they go over it in the end. So that's what we got in terms of attacker. I know they're looking at other names. I know they're talking about other things. I don't think still that Memphis Depay is a realistic scenario because why would they help Barcelona clear wages when they're trying to resolve this whole De Jong thing? It doesn't help the situation. Speaking of De Jong, some news has come out today that confirms what I said last week. Barcelona made an offer and compromise on him on the wages. That was well below what they owe him. They rejected it. That's why he got on the plane. They made that offer before he got on the plane. That's 2 weeks old. Or a week and a half old. He rejected it, got on the plane, went to preseason. They have yet to increase that offer. Now you're seeing these things. In preseason, he's being stuck as a center back. Xavi's talking about him potentially being a center back for him. They're talking about wage cuts. They're talking about the economic things. It is getting extremely messy, and that's why the deal is still alive and why United still feel confident. Because they believe he's going to be forced out of the team. They believe that economically they still have to sell, and they believe that from their discussions with him that he's open to joining them. July 31st, the end of this week, that wage cap comes out, and Barcelona are then really up against trying to figure out how to get everybody in there. They're buying Jules Koundé. It's insane what they are doing. So United expect another offer to be made to compromise or to figure out these wages from Barcelona following July 31st. And when Barcelona return, that could push this deal forward. That's what they think. That's what they expect. Could it drag the deadline day? Sure. But the fact of the matter is, the bigger deadline here, and you can see the noise is starting to crescendo again a little bit, when that wage cap comes out, when they return from preseason and are looking at how do they register Lewandowski, Koundé now, all these players that they're purchasing, if they can't, that's when it gets tight. And that's when it really should start to move. There's no reason for it to drag all the way through the end of August because if they can register all those players, then pressure's gone. If they can't, and they need to move on De Jong, then it should happen real quickly. They're not going to want Lewandowski not being able to play in August when they're playing in La Liga. They're not going to want Koundé not being able to play in August. So they should be resolving it before those games occur. And that's what United are basing it on. So Again, once again, there's been all these little kind of not deadlines, but points in time that are big for moments. It doesn't mean it has to happen during that time, but it's another big moment when things should occur, when there is another spike in pressure, and this is the biggest one now, this wage cap and registration timeline for these new players. So let's see with that, and if I have updates, I'll let you know. Eriksen and Martinez should hopefully be official in the next few days. From what I understand, they've been at Carrington. They've been training at Carrington, from what I know. So it's very interesting. Everything is effectively done. I guess it was unofficially training. I've considered that perhaps they wanted to wait to announce them until everybody's back. The players have given the day off on Monday, but maybe they're doing some things with Ten Hag there today. I wouldn't be surprised. And that maybe we see some pictures and things tomorrow with a more official announcement on that basis. So, because I guess we haven't actually announced Martinez aside from, that deal agreed in principle and all of that. But they've been at Carrington. That's what I know. So they've been there, so we should expect something to move on that shortly and an official announcement to come forward. I'll let you know if and when I receive that. Lastly, discussing outs. Once again, I've mentioned by Tales, Tuanzebe Jones a few times. You're seeing now the movement on the loans for the kids. Hannibal Mejbri, as I said, has interest from championship clubs. There's talk of Boro, there's talk of some other ones. I think he will go out. Again, now that everybody's back, I think you're going to start to see the decisions be made on those youth players. So Zeni Iqbal, Charlie Savage, Hannibal Mejbri, Amad Diallo, and Palestri, as I said, is also set to go on loan. So there's a lot of things... There's a lot of things pushing this along, these youth players now. And so I think, again, teams back, preseason kind of over for them. You have that final game at the weekend against Rayo Vallecano, I think it is, Vallecano. And they're going to use a lot of the players there, and then I think you're going to see loans firing left and right after that for the young players through August. And again, though, it's going to be somewhat dependent, like with Jimmy Garner, on if Frenkie de Jong happens. I don't think he leaves until that happens. In the forward position, I think you might see one or two stick around just in case until a signing is made there or until the Ronaldo situation is resolved. But those loans are starting to move forward, and I do expect Ahmad, Hannibal, Palestri, Iqbal to go on loan this year. So we'll see what happens there. What else? There's news from about this was an interesting one. News about Ten Hag, a player being late to meetings twice and losing a starting spot over it. I don't know who it is. It could be Varane. It could be one of the players who didn't make an appearance, like Garnacho. I hope not. But I guess we'll find out. I love to see more of this. I'm excited just to see that final bigger preseason game against Atletico Madrid with a full strength side. Everything we're hearing about training makes me extremely optimistic and hopeful for the future. But there could be a lot happening in August because a lot still predicated on Ronaldo and on obviously Frenkie de Jong in terms of what happens next. So that's what I've got for today. I'll definitely give you some more updates in the next few days. I'll be out at the end of the week. But again, thank you for watching. Thank you for everything. It means a lot. Keep all this going through summer, even as the transfer news has been slowing down a little bit, though there's still a lot that could potentially happen. I'm really excited for the season to start. I'm really excited for more football to happen. But yes, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next one.